For over a century, we've been covering surfaces. From the penny black stamp to racing liveries, from fleet graphics to color-changing wraps. Each innovation answered the same question. How can we make surfaces say what we want them to say? But what if we've been asking the wrong question all along? What if the real question isn't what surfaces can display, but what surfaces can do? This is the story of how stickers reshaped our world. Surfaces of tomorrow. In wrap shops around the world, installers are working with what might be the final evolution of traditional vinyl, dry-apply colored paint protection film. For years, PPF was only clear and always installed wet, a thermoplastic polyurethane shield to protect paint from chips and scratches. Today, it comes in colors and finishes, with the same protection but applied dry without the mess. It's everything the industry has been working toward, the durability of PPF and the aesthetics of a color change in one film.
I mean, right now, finally, I've been waiting for it for years, but dry apply PPF is finally here. So for color change and even for digital print, PU is kind of becoming the gold standard, or, I would say for wrapping. And it's just, it looks like paint, it holds up much better.
A TPU film is going to last longer. It's going to give you a scratch-resistant surface. It's going to last double the length of vinyl. It's on the crest of technology right now. It's the new thing, and it's still got some development to do, but it's definitely going to change the industry. And that 5 years from now, we're going to be saying, we used to use vinyl. I think it's going to take the place of it. It's on the way.
Dry apply PPF feels like the industry's finish line. Durable, paint-like, and finally easy to install. Yet, while installers master film, automakers are quietly rewriting the rule book. After 100 years of paint, they're asking the unthinkable. Why paint at all?
Back in the day, in 2016, I was giving a speech in Amsterdam. So during that speech, near the end, I did a segment on what I thought the future of car wrapping would be. And in that presentation, I said, I think manufacturers, like the wrap industry for vehicles, was always focused on aftermarket. And then I thought, I think this industry is going to continue to grow, and the OEMs would be interested in actually wrapping the cars at the factory before you got them. So I suggested that in the video that Ford started off painting cars only black, and then they got into different colors, that Ford would go back to just doing single color cars. And that was 2016, and kind of what I predicted kind of came true, with two different companies. One, oddly enough, the Wrap Institute was asked to create the Ford Wrap program. So Ford was very interested in wrapping about 120,000 cars a year, and we partnered with XIX and created that program. So Ford wanted to do 120,000 color change wraps a year at wrap shops. So that was still aftermarket, but I thought it was like a very close segue to OEMs wrapping cars at the factory and really taking it up to that next level. And it was the first time in the wrap industry that an OEM was going to turn on the faucet and just pour jobs into the industry, and it was going to revolutionize it. And unfortunately, the program's on hold, but it came this close. And then just recently, kind of that OEM logic now of truly wrapping the cars at the factory and coming out is Porsche's been doing it for a few years with PPF, but that's just clear, so a lot of people don't see that. But now there's a company called Slate, and they're coming out with trucks, and it's probably going to launch next year, where they're literally only making the vehicles one color. It's gray, and it's actually not even paint. So it's just almost like a textured plastic. And so it's just one color, and they are building these to be wrapped. So if you first think about why OEMs would do this, why would OEMs want to wrap the cars as opposed to paint the car? Well, I mean, if you think about it scale, I mean, basically, you come up with a manufacturer and they're going to offer maybe 4 to 10 different paint jobs. And, customers are kind of like, okay, I like that red, but they're not in love with the red. They kind of just choose it because that's the closest to what they really want. And so that's one, is now with wrapping, OEMs can offer a huge range of colors and finishes, much more than they could with paint. And then if they just, let's say, paint the car in one color, or in the case of Slate, they don't even paint the car at all, they just create this textured plastic, it just simplifies their manufacturing process. They can turn around these cars super quick. They just skip the whole painting and primering process right now. So for manufacturing, it must make it much, much cheaper and more efficient to produce. They're selling it as this customizable option where you get this base model of a truck and then you could put different parts on it or segments to customize it how you want, including the outside. So I think they're kind of building that logic into the customers, and I think customers overall will switch to that. So even if they think the wrap is not going to last 3 or 4 years or longer than 3 or 4 years, they might be okay with that because the price tag of the car is so low. So they're kind of replacing the paint on a regular basis, kind of like you replace your iPhone. You know, you're not spending $20,000 for an iPhone that's going to last you your lifetime. You're spending $1,000 on your iPhone and you know that you're going to replace it over time. And I think customers are kind of building that replaceability logic in it by lowering the price point and making it logical to swap out. That being said, we also talked about PPF and PU film revolutionizing the industry right now, and those films are lasting much longer. So I think within the program of, let's say, even like Slate or like an OEM like Ford, if they start going with the program again, you know, the original program for Ford back in 2023 was this PVC film, and that was going to be with KPMF. I think if Ford redoes this program again and gets it going, I think they're going to switch to dry apply PPF, which has a much longer warranty. So now when you wrap a car, right, and the question of how long it's going to last, if you have a really good high quality dry apply color change film, for example, that's going to last 5 to 10 years. That's legit. And it's scratch resistant, hydrophobic and stuff like that. And I think that for me is exciting because you're getting the durability plus the customization.
From Ford to Slate, manufacturers are embracing what installers have known for decades. Wraps aren't just an alternative to paint. They're better than paint. And once you accept that surfaces can be changed, the next question becomes, what else can they do? In Fedrigoni's laboratories, that question is getting a radical answer. Materials are no longer just physical. They're becoming digital.
RFID stands for radio frequency identification. It's actually per se a very well-established technology because it's already all around us in our daily lives, because eventually the key to open a door in a hotel, or the contactless payment card, or the contactless ticket for the metro, all these very quick examples of application are eventually powered by RFID. It made sense for Fedrigoni to step into RFID because it's actually the enabler for smart paper, smart label, or more broadly, smart creation. And it allows our material to become phygital, which is actually the combination of physical and digital. So you have perfect, amazing material creations, for example, a wine label, that eventually is enabled to connect the consumer to a digital environment where contents, advices are actually provided to the consumer.
Labels like these are already changing the way we shop and live. A medicine package with an NFC tag can give patients interactive instructions or safety information. Luxury brands embed RFID chips in bags and clothing to prove authenticity with a single tap. And logistics companies use RFID stickers to track products seamlessly through the supply chain. Everyday objects become connected, interactive, almost alive. So, what happens when the same intelligence moves from labels into the wrapping film?
One way, and I guess it's the most immediate one, is to basically connect the wrapper who is about to use the media to all the contents that might be available on a digital platform. Let's call them both educational contents, so how to apply that specific material, as well as more technical contents, so durability, conformability, and so on and so forth.
Imagine pulling a roll of film off the shelf, tapping it with your phone, and instantly seeing the official install guide. Step-by-step videos, compatibility charts, even durability specs. No searching websites, no guessing. The knowledge is built right into the material itself. Or think about warranty. A roll of film with RFID could track its own installation date and tell you exactly how much coverage time is left. No more digging through receipts. The film itself could confirm 2 years remaining or time for replacement. It could even tell you the exact color and brand that's on the car, removing any doubt. And that same intelligence doesn't stop at the car. In the shop, RFID could also let the film talk directly to the printer.
So imagine you have your media and you have a printer. So the step number one could be that when you are using the media closer to the printer can automatically identify the media and get the right profiles ready. So without, it's almost basically touchless.
From there, the uses multiply. A film that registers itself with the installer's warranty system the moment it's applied, or a recycling facility that identifies the material type automatically, making disposal and reuse faster, cleaner, and more reliable. And it's not just the industry. People are already filling their homes with NFC stickers, tiny tags that automate daily routines. One on the trash bin stops reminder alerts once it's wheeled out. In the car, a scan cools the house before you get home, or even opens the garage door. In the laundry room, tags start or cancel a timer when clothes are done. At night, a single tap by the bed can shut off every light in the house. In the living room, a hidden tag triggers movie mode. They're tucked into books, coasters, light switches, kids' rooms, even storage bins, controlling reminders, music, security, and more. Everyday life made smarter by a few cents worth of film. If stickers can do this in kitchens, garages, and bedrooms, imagine what an entire car wrap could achieve. The only limit isn't the technology, it's the imagination we bring to it.
We are definitely exploring the opportunities coming from the combination of different technologies we are familiar with, including RFID. Combinations are actually limitless. So what we are discovering on a daily basis is that the constraint is rather ideas as opposed to means, meaning we have technologies, we have capabilities. So as I mentioned, it's a bit like being a painter with a wide range of colors, and the masterpiece is actually what you want to achieve in your mind, but technologies are there to achieve it. I truly believe the limit is in the ideas that we can put together, but the technology to achieve things that today might look like impossible is totally there.
RFID shows us how film can become intelligent, carrying information, connecting to systems, even automating daily life. But intelligence doesn't only come from microchips and data. Nature has already perfected smart surfaces over millions of years. One example now making its way into industry is AeroShark.
This AeroShark is essentially a wrap film, but that is designed to mimic the skin of a shark. So to go a bit more in detail why it's interesting to do that, sharks have this small 3D aspect on their skin, which is called a denticle, which essentially creates vortices that reduce their drag when they swim through water. And this AeroShark technology has been applied on planes, actually on the Swiss airline planes, to reduce fuel consumption. And I think this material is very, very interesting. It's a very promising area of investigation that, of course, applies to the wrap industry, and that goes beyond just the aspect, but goes much more into the practical side, where you increase aerodynamic properties and you reduce fuel consumptions. Another very interesting property is that it has anti-fouling properties, which means that it repels contaminants and it avoids, let's say, contaminants sticking to the surface. So this is very good, for example, for the marine industry, because right now the anti-fouling solutions are often quite damaging to the environment, quite problematic. And this would be an alternative, completely eco-friendly and probably also much more efficient.
Shark skin is just one example of biomimicry. technology inspired by nature's own designs.
Essentially, these kind of materials, they fall under the category of biomimetic materials, where your goal is to mimic what nature does. Because when you think about it, nature is pretty good at what it does. And what we do industrially and synthetically is just mimic what nature does over centuries of evolution. So this shark skin wrap application is exactly that. We're trying to take what exists in the nature and to apply it industrially. There's other examples, let's say, of this kind of effect. So for example, the lotus effect. Lotus leaves are extremely hydrophobic, even though they are made of a material which is hydrophilic in nature. But just through their 3D structure, they have these super hydrophobic properties. You can take the example of the skin of chameleons, which are able to change color very rapidly through the disposition of nanocrystals inside. This is definitely something that could benefit the wrap industry when we talk about films that can change color, either by applying heat or by applying an electrical current. Again, all of these biomimetic applications in material science are, to me, extremely interesting and really will be the next generation of surface materials.
Sometimes inspiration comes not from performance, but from patterns we notice in nature itself.
If you consider a very dry ground, it's getting more and more dry, and you get these funny shapes and pattern. Yeah, and the first pattern, our AX honeycomb, was really, let's say, related to nature, not to the best performance of nature if it's getting too dry, you know, and it's getting cracked, but it's actually, this was the idea, yeah.
Biomimicry proves there's no shortage of inspiration in the natural world. Shapes, patterns, and surfaces refined over millions of years. But inspiration doesn't stop with nature. For decades, science fiction has imagined cars that double as glowing billboards, rolling TV screens, or machines that change color at the push of a button. That's no longer fantasy. Companies are already experimenting with these ideas. Ultra-thin, flexible OLED films can now be printed directly onto labels, packaging, and even textiles. These are sheets of light, no thicker than paper, that bend, fold, and move just like ordinary material. Unlike traditional screens, they don't need rigid glass or bulky electronics. The power source and circuitry are built right in, which means a label on a bottle can light up when you pick it up or trigger an animation when you tap it. In retail, this turns static packaging into a dynamic surface that can guide, instruct, or entertain the consumer. In medicine, it could make packages that flash warnings or confirm authenticity. And because these films can act as true displays, they have the potential to show any kind of content: text, images, even video. It's not yet scaled for something as large as a car body, but the principle is already proven. Light-emitting films that are thin, flexible, and recyclable. And every year they get brighter, cheaper, and more durable, which makes the leap from a glowing label to a glowing vehicle feel less like science fiction and more like a matter of time. And while flexible OLED shows us what's possible in the future, there are already light-emitting films on the market today. Some companies have developed what they call electric vinyl, a wrap material that glows when powered. Unlike OLED, it doesn't display changing images or video. Instead, it illuminates pre-designed graphics, logos, or patterns. But the crucial difference is that this material is available now, and it can be applied directly to cars, signage, or architectural surfaces. It's proof that luminous wraps aren't just theory, they're already on the street. If glowing vinyl shows what's possible today, BMW's experiments with E-ink hint at what's coming next. At CES, the company revealed concept cars wrapped in thousands of ultra-thin, flexible E-ink panels, the same bistable material used in e-readers. These sheets hold their color without consuming power, changing only when a new charge is applied. In 2022, BMW's prototype could only switch between black and white. By 2023, BMW and E-ink engineers had scaled the idea up into full color. Using the Prism 3 platform, they cut and conformed nearly 1,000 individual segments across the body, each able to display one of 32 colors. Even details like the kidney grille, headlights, and rims were integrated into the system, with negative spaces carefully engineered so lights could shine through. The result isn't a smooth high-resolution screen. It's more like a mosaic of shifting tiles. But it's enough to let a car pulse, stripe, or completely transform its identity in real time. And because the technology is ultra-low power, the car can hold its look indefinitely without draining its battery. Beyond personalization, BMW sees functional potential too. Panels that flash to help you find your vehicle, surfaces that display the battery's charging status, even color changes that manage solar reflection and cabin temperature to save energy. For now, these are hand-built showpieces, expensive, fragile, and far from production. But as a proof of concept, they're a glimpse into a future where the surface of the car isn't fixed at all, but programmable. Concepts like BMW's E-ink car make one thing clear. The surface of a vehicle is no longer just paint. It's becoming a canvas. And in the industry, people are already imagining where that could lead.
Any way you look at it, it's advertising. If it's a wealthy guy or a guy, you know, that wants to show off to the girls, whatever it is, he's got a purpose for what he's doing. He wants to advertise something, himself, a product, something. It's an advertising asset. So therefore, you know, it's always gonna be there. There's a commodity that is there. And how you present, you know, what you do to facilitate it will depend on what's available to you. And like we've been talking all day, the early days, solid color vinyl, then print vinyl, then solid wraps, and you know, all this stuff. Well, I truly feel that very soon they're going to be liquid panels and things like that. There will be no vinyl. It'll just be where, I mean, in the 90s we were messing with a piece of material that was flexible, pliable. You could cut it, you could stick it, you could do anything with it. You just stick a couple of electrodes in it and light it up. You know, it didn't make it. It wasn't popular. I mean, most they used it for was to light number boards on race cars at night. That was about the limit. But it was just the idea. Wow, could we take this and illuminate the entire car? Well, the batteries and the power it would take and all that, it just, you know, and it couldn't generate enough light to be good enough. But it did number panels fine. But I'm just saying that was like, wow, if that was done then, you know, take a piece of material, some kind of material, and put it over top of it, plug in the electric to it, and all of a sudden it becomes a television screen, you know? You can have anything you want. You're going down, you know, Broadway, you know, in your car, and hey, baby, you know, how you doing? You know, right there on the car. You don't even have to say anything. You know, it could be anything. You never know. But, you know, you always have the limitations of the companies that are already making stuff that prolong it. You know, I mean, the guy that invented the carburetor, they got 200 miles to the gallon. They bought him out, and no one ever saw the carburetor, you know? So, but the future is whatever you want it to be. You know, it's amazing. It really is. Life is good. Life is really good. Really is.
Well, this is common sense that digital signage and vinyl. I don't know if it's going to be vinyl, but we talked about moving from 2D to 3D. Yeah, back in the, whatever, 70s, 80s. So now the question is, how do we get a 4K, 8K, 16K display on a car? I mean, if you go to these shows like SEMA shows and Automechanika or IAA in Frankfurt, you see that there will be electronically activated paints out there. Different layers, different shifts. And the way you put power into these different layers, you will get a result. And it's out there already, and that's going to be the future, that you paint a car, plug a little USB stick in it, and then you have all the images you want on there. But I don't know how fast this will be, but I see this.
From glowing panels to programmable paint, every breakthrough pushes the surface closer to something alive, able to sense, adapt, and even decide. But to make that leap, it takes more than chemistry or engineering. It takes intelligence. Artificial intelligence is emerging as the next big force in the industry, a technology that could reshape not just how wraps are designed and installed, but the very materials themselves.
Now what's happening, this is another phase, which is, I call it the third phase, which I'm going to miss it because I'm not doing it anymore, but that's the AI. Because AI now everything else will become obsolete very quickly. But if you embrace AI and what its ability to do, will it really, really enhance the future, and it's an exciting, brand new opportunity, just like the computers were back in the day. Wrap material now is a natural thing right this second. And everybody's selling it, everybody's making it, and they're creating all new stuff. I guarantee pretty soon, they're not gonna need it anymore, but they're gonna have that's gonna be what they do and what they're used to. So it's gonna be a while before, even though it's gonna be available, before it'll go. We were talking about body panels that could radiate, all the color changes and images and all kinds of stuff. I mean, the future it's amazing.
But before cars become living screens, AI is already showing up in smaller, practical ways.
So AI is out there for the longest time already, and we're all using it without knowing it. Me personally, I'm not afraid about AI. I'm excited about it because it helps us human beings avoiding mistakes. In terms of efficiency, how many vinyl is still left on the roll? How many ink can I save if I change some settings and stuff like this? IA will do this in a blink of an eye, and that is very important, that we save on material, save on time. But on the other hand side, a big lack of our industry, a big missing thing, or a big gap, I would say, is marketing. Most of the installers I know are amazing installers. Oh my God, watching these guys doing their work, it's just like satisfying like nothing else. But how to get customers and how to advertise their craftsmanships, that is a big issue, and I think AI can help those people getting the customers, getting attention of the customers, and bringing together the skills and the demand. And AI is a very, very great tool to integrate this, and that's going to be a very, very good thing for our industry, especially for the talented installers who are not able to really say, hey, I'm here.
But AI's impact might go far beyond optimization. Justin Pate envisions a future where artificial intelligence is built into the film itself.
And one of the hardest parts about wrapping is cutting. And even when I teach workshops or on the Wrap Institute, it's cutting. Getting the material on these days is actually super easy for the most part. It's just finishing. So one thing I thought about in 2016, and I think with the technology and AI today, I think it's really close, is what I call self-cutting film. So basically my idea is that when you wrap a car, it's filled with nanotechnology, the film, and then basically once you get all the material on, anything that's not touching a solid, if you put electrical current into the film, anything that's not touching a solid will fall off, right? So that's kind of my idea. And I think, God, how cool, I mean, how fast could you wrap a car? That you basically just get it on, press a button, all the excess film falls off, and voila, you have a car. I mean, the volume of that would be amazing. And even, I mean, if it's funny, if you watch the video that I did in 2016, it's on the Wrap Institute, is when I said, self-cutting film, you'll see a man stand up and walk out. And even when I was giving my speech, I thought, that's interesting. I wonder why he's walking out. Maybe he has to go to the bathroom, right? And then afterwards, that person came up to me, and that was Joe Kay from KPMF. He was the owner of KPMF, and we're having coffee and some cookies and stuff like that. And he said, that idea just totally blew my mind. And I could see that he was putting the puzzle pieces together. Unfortunately, he just passed away recently. But basically, he was super innovative in the industry. Obviously, he didn't quite get to that, but it's nice to see people like that who are creative in the industry will see that as he saw the volume play for that. And I think maybe someone watching this video or somewhere in the OEM, I do think combining the technology today, AI today, I think you can come up with that sweet spot. I think it would be really cool and make wrapping super easy. Awesome.
And it's not just the materials that might become automated. The entire installation process could be heading toward the factory floor.
Actually, I was talking with Michael from Yellow Tools, and he actually has a lot of robotics built into his factory where they're making a lot of tools and stuff like that. And we've even talked about at some of the OEMs, they actually have some applications, not necessarily with vinyl, where he's supplying these kind of custom squeegees that the robots are kind of putting on these applications. So we've already naturally talked about, are the OEMs going to get to wrapping cars at the factory, because they're leaning that way, with robots? Are they going to apply the film? Because right now they're hiring installers to come in-house and do that for like Porsche with XPEL and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's definitely going to get there. And people in the industry, wrap industry, are concerned that they might lose their jobs. But I think, again, think of how many wrap cars are going to be coming out of the factory, and then once they're on location, let's say they need to be rewrapped or they get damaged and they have to be replaced, that's going to be done by a human. So I think there's going to be plenty of work out there. But I mean, the evolution with robotics and stuff being done at the factory, I think it's just something that is going to happen. And then how do you kind of adjust to that and grow?
Ideas like self-cutting film or robotic application might sound futuristic, but they show how AI could one day merge with material science, reshaping not just how wraps are made, but how we think about making them. And that same intelligence is also beginning to reimagine another side of the process: design.
I think AI will help make design tasks much easier. Instead of creating designs by hand, businesses could use AI software to generate great designs ready for print in seconds. It could also suggest the best colors, placement, and how they will look on different surfaces to make sure everything fits well.
What begins as a digital design might soon extend into the physical world. Because while AI is reshaping how we imagine and create visuals, researchers are exploring how the same intelligence could shape the very surfaces those visuals live on.
I think that we're moving more and more towards active surfaces, and this comes from improvements in various areas that converge towards this active surface. So for example, you have the whole field of smart materials, shape memory alloys, for example, electrochromic glass, which already exists nowadays, so glass that can change aspect and color just by applying an electrical field inside. Then this can go in conjunction with all this increase in sensors that we have all around us, sensors that detect motion, temperature, pressure. And it's these improvements in sensors also that allow to have all other things that become smart. So you have smart thermostats that adjust the temperature, smart lights that detect people and you turn on the lights only when you're here, smart fridges which detect that you don't have eggs anymore and decide to order eggs for you while you're away. All these things come from these improvements in sensors. And of course, finally, I'd say one of the key things that brings all of this together and converges towards active surfaces is the improvement in AI in the end. Because if you want an active surface, you want a surface that is able to intelligently respond to all these parameters that it detects. And the only way to do that is to have some kind of AI software behind it that can make these decisions in real time and to respond efficiently and intelligently to these feedbacks.
Today, AI is mostly theoretical in the surface materials, but researchers believe its role will grow, not just reacting to data, but actively reshaping how materials behave.
AI is still quite new. It hasn't really found yet a big application in the surface materials area. But essentially, I think the benefit from it will be to learn from the needs, let's say, of the customers, of the users, and then to adapt the properties of the materials to then follow these needs. Of course, it will need, let's say, the ability to do this kind of modifications, which involves using smarter and smarter materials. So as we discussed before, materials that can change color depending on the conditions around them, materials that can change structure also depending on their environment. But once you're able to, let's say, have this responsive materials, then it's not a huge leap just to integrate an AI that can decide to do those changes, but in a structured and intelligent manner.
Artificial intelligence might one day control how films adapt, shift color, or even repair themselves. But no matter how smart the surface becomes, it's still a material, something manufactured, shipped, installed, and eventually thrown away. And that raises the question the industry can't escape. What happens to all this plastic, all this liner, all these chemicals once the wrap comes off? Because behind the innovation, there's another challenge pressing harder every year: sustainability.
And in the vinyl industry, we have one gaping big problem, which is vinyl is made out of not very sustainable material, among which plasticizers, right? So that's one aspect. Plus there's another even bigger problem, is the liner. The liner of the vinyl typically is not recyclable today, as we know, right? So we have those two problems. Now, it's already happening right now. We have PVC-free vinyls right now, which are starting to become very good in terms of performance, equal, and some people saying even better than vinyls that we're used to. So sustainability of materials is gonna drive the future in terms of vinyl, and basically not having to call it vinyl anymore. We have to call it something else because it will not contain vinyl. So that for sure. Sustainability also doesn't only pertain to the media, it also pertains to the inks. So in the future, solvent-based inks or otherwise will come under pressure, right? And we're starting to see this also in print shops who are printing with solvent right now. Depending on the country, it's very dependent on where in the world you're looking, but generally there's a tendency to look at, or a trend now, of looking at having to change certain things to be, one, more sustainable, and two, to create safer workplaces. If you go to print shops today and you see a solvent printer in there, the poor print operator is the one standing next to that printer breathing in solvent all day. As long as he's printing, he's breathing in solvents, right? The print shop owner could care or could not care about that operator. But now you're starting to see that print shop owners are at least more aware of the fact that their personnel is sitting there breathing solvent gases, and would want to do something about it. Or in the very small print shops where it may be even a family member operating the machine, right? So there's also that aspect, no? Where people are starting to say, should we maybe do something about the air quality in our premises?
From the films themselves, to the liners that back them, to the inks and solvents used in print shops, sustainability challenges run through every part of the process. But change is happening, not just talk. Manufacturers, recyclers, and brands are piloting alternatives. Some focus on entirely new materials, others on redesigning what already exists. The goal is the same: reducing waste and making wrapping more sustainable.
What we are doing as Fedrigoni, and I'm just going to mention a few examples, would eventually range from promoting and deploying recycling into our PVC ecosystem, all the way to monitoring the LCA, so the life cycle assessment or footprint of the material media we are bringing to the market, limiting as much as possible ESG impact of our media, all the way to promoting breakthrough ideas like replacing PVC with paper for graphic application where this is feasible. As an example, a big share of the media used in the graphic industry, our estimation is around 40% in volume, is eventually used for indoor advertising. And typically for advertising campaign that would last between 2 to 4 weeks. So if you think of it, it's on one side a kind of easier environment because it's indoor, and on the other side is an easier time span because it's quote-unquote just 2 to 4 weeks. For this specific segment, which at the end of the day is material in the industry, we basically challenged ourselves and said, why can't we replace PVC with paper and deliver it at a price that eventually is comparable and competitive with PVC? That's a challenge that in a way we are proud to say we have won, meaning we are now in the market with this specific solution that we call F-Jet natural fiber that combines all we just said with also high removability that basically allows, if you think of it, advertising campaign to be ESG friendly, to be cost-wise friendly, and last but definitely not least, to be user-friendly, meaning anyone in a store can actually position the banner, the advertising media, and eventually reposition it, remove it, making basically the life easier for everyone, starting from the store assistants.
Replacing PVC is one approach, but for many in the industry, the other hidden challenge is the liner, that throwaway layer carrying every film, yet almost always ending up as waste. For liner manufacturers like Mondi, this has become a central focus.
We have a lot of ideas how to make the liner greener, yeah? And in first instance, what we are doing, for example, is our own waste, what we producing, startup waste, or if we have some issues with silicones or whatever. So all our liner is getting recycled. Yeah? So we have a recycling plant which is separating the polyethylene from the fibers. The fibers is getting back into a paper mill. So, and they're making new office paper out of it. And the polyethylene is getting now incinerated. But there is some, let's say, ideas and that we can even get these polyethylene downcycled in certain grades that you don't get it incinerated. So I think there is a lot of, from us, we have a lot of ideas. Sometimes the customers needs to be convinced to follow us. Yeah. For example, we're talking to customers that they have their laminate waste, they have a liner, adhesive and PVC film. If you combine that, and there is a company, they're building the so-called laminator separator, yeah, where you have then in the end, you have only the liner and you have the PVC film and adhesive, and the liner is getting also recycled to our recycling plant, or not ours, to the paper mill. And the PVC film can also get downgraded. So there's many ideas now. Yeah, we have these forever green, CP, rough cycle. There is a lot of institutions because the European Union and the regulation is getting more strict, and there might be a time that it's even not allowed to have a liner if you cannot prove the liner is getting recycled. Yeah, or contains a certain amount of recycled fibers. Yeah. So it's a different approaches. Yeah. You can either have a recycled fiber, which gives less performance. Most don't like that so much. Or you recycle the liner and you recycle even then the film afterwards. Yeah. After of the lifetime, or when you have startup waste at the customers. So it's many ideas, just needs a little time to convince the people to doing these things, yeah. But I think we are on a good way, yeah, to be honest.
Mondi also stresses that change can't happen without the end users. They recommend that larger shops and installers separate and collect liner waste, so it can be sent for proper recycling instead of going to incineration. Small steps like that could close the loop and make a real difference. But sustainability isn't only about films and liners. It also comes down to the coatings on their surface. And here too, change is underway.
So PFAS are polyfluorinated alkyl substances, and they're also known as forever chemicals. Essentially, it's these class of chemicals that are so robust and resistant that nothing in nature degrades it. And once they're produced industrially, they will stay in the environment for a long period of time. And what we're trying to do in our coating formulation is try to get away from these PFAS solutions, because even if they're very practical, because they're very robust, but on top of that, they're also repelling pretty much anything. They repel water, they repel oil and dirt. But we have to keep in mind that slowly but surely we'll have to stop using those chemicals, which are for sure harmful for people, for the environment. And actually our wrap technology, our wrap coating, is designed without any kind of PFAS inside it. And yeah, we think this is a big step towards more sustainable protective solutions while still having impressive protection parameters.
Beyond PFAS, the industry also faces a bigger challenge: the sheer amount of waste. From leftover backing paper to removed wraps, what happens after a job is finished is becoming just as important as how the film performs.
I hate the fact that there's so much waste in the industry. So I feel like the materials are getting better in terms of how they look and how they perform, which is great. I see evolutions in terms of the backing paper now almost is recyclable. The vinyl itself, when you take a wrap off, you can actually recycle that. That for me is great, because the biggest thing that's made me sad about this industry is just the amount of chemicals and the waste is really phenomenal. We've tried programs on the Wrap Institute. We did a program back in 2018 called Green Equals Green, and it was just, no one cared about it. And I'm just trying, there's ways to make your waste minimal, and we'll try to maybe resurrect that and get that going again, because I feel like now we're a little maybe ahead of our time. And I feel like people now, are taking buildings down and recycling the entire building. I think that's in vogue right now. And I think trying to redo that with your wrap, take the wrap off and recycle it. I mean, I'm definitely down with that.
But waste isn't the only concern. For many installers, the bigger issue is the toll that current materials and chemicals take on their own health.
The adhesives, the solvents, and the things we're putting into the air, putting on our bodies, skin, those are things that are important. And I know a lot of people have had some bad repercussions from working with it. I know people have got chemical poisoning and all kind of problems from being in this industry. And I feel like carpal tunnel and different things, just your health is more important than your job, especially when you get older like me. It's like, I remember, changing my position and getting better and not causing so many problems with the way my hands hurt or the things I'm smelling. Use a respirator, use gloves, use things that, help your health and better the environment. So I feel like the next big thing will be a more environmentally friendly material, a longer lasting material, self-healing, something that people will just leave on their car for as long as they own it. So that's what I'm hoping for in the future.
But creating safer, longer-lasting films isn't only about chemistry. It's also about mindset. Change won't happen if the industry keeps treating sustainability as an afterthought. It has to become part of the culture.
Well, it's the society demanding a more trustworthy dealing with what we do. It's not the 90s anymore because, I don't care. We need to bring those sustainable products into our marketing. You know, it needs to be a trend, it needs to be hip, saying people, look, while others still throw PVC in the garbage, we found a better way to use the leftovers or don't have leftovers, or it doesn't matter if we have leftovers because they're all organic or something like this. It needs to be a trend. It's us, the people, who needs to change the way we look at these things and demand the industry. Guys, keep on going. We need that.
That demand is already shaping the next chapter. And if you ask those who've seen the industry evolve for decades, the future looks wide open.
If you ask me to look in my crystal ball what sign making will be in the next 5 or 10 years, I can tell you one thing. I was born in '69. I am a digital immigrant. You know, I came from a world without phones and computers and stuff like this, so I integrated into that. If you had asked me 10 years ago what the status of a cell phone is, I was like, yeah, it's just a phone. Now it's a lifestyle product. Now asking me what sign making will be in 5 years, pretty much everything you ever want. With the technology possibilities we have out there, man, we can make this world a better place, that's for sure. It's our responsibility how we do this, but sign making will be out here longer than we all listening or watching that video. It will be hundreds of years, and I'm very excited to be part of it.
Anytime there's like a new technology, whether it's like air egress or repositionable films or any kind of change that's really scaled the volume or made wrapping easier, I was always told you're going to lose your job, And when I first heard that back in like 1999, I was scared. I thought I was going to lose my job, but I just got busier. And so with every evolution in the industry, from tools to material and stuff like that, the industry gets bigger, the customer awareness gets bigger, and it's always been a positive thing. So I know a lot of people are worried about AI or they're worried about robotics and stuff like that. And I just think with innovators like Michael from Yellow Tools or innovators from manufacturers, let's say like Federgoni, people who are doing like really cool projects or tools that you can kind of design with, like wrap stock and stuff like that, with coatings, what Diamond ProTech is doing. All the partners that we work with, in this particular series, but everyone who's doing revolutionary things in the industry, I think it just gives me so much hope and growth. And because I've had, so much experience over time, it's not something I'm worried about, something I'm really excited about.
With the technology possibilities we have out there, the future can be anything we want it to be. But no matter how far we go, the craft itself will always remain at the center.
For me, it's absolutely clear. You can be advanced and technically in a pole position. There will be always someone who has to put that stuff on. I'm not saying that we will have self-adhesive products in the future. I don't know, maybe not. But it will be in any kind of paint form, or we have to bring it somewhere. Even digital signs don't hang themselves on buildings. Someone has to come with a forklift or with one of these trucks with a little bucket in it, and someone has to drill an anchor in the wall.
Technology will continue to redefine what film is and what it can do. From color-changing wraps to active surfaces that sense and respond, to intelligent materials that carry their own data. But no matter how advanced the innovation, the heart of the industry won't just be plastic, pixels, or algorithms. It will be the people who imagine, print, and apply these surfaces. The installers with their hands on the tools, the designers who turn ideas into visuals, the chemists and engineers pushing the boundaries of material science. Wrapping has always been about more than covering a surface. It's about creativity, craftsmanship, and connection. And as the line between physical and digital blurs, that human element will matter even more. The future of wrapping isn't just about smarter films or greener materials. It's about how this community chooses to shape it. One thing is certain. The story of wrapping is far from over. In fact, it may only just be beginning. This has been How Stickers Reshaped Our World.